Hey, welcome everyone. It is a Monday, a glorious, fantastic Monday. On this episode, I rant a little bit about the H3H3 podcast. I love listening to them, but what do they do that I just cannot stand? I continue by talking about Nassim Nicholas Taleb's Skin in the Game, an awesome book, one for the ages. Everyone should read it. So I talk a little bit about what I'm learning from Skin in the Game. So stay tuned. Oh, and you can email me at tayradio1@gmail.com, tayradio1@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter, tstutch1. Follow me on Periscope, tstutch1. Follow me on my website, tstutch, stuch.com. And you can subscribe on YouTube at Taylor Stutch, Taylor Stuch. Thank you. So let's quickly discuss the meme that is going around. There is a hilarious meme of Trump from the movie The Kingsman. So if you haven't seen the movie, there's it's a good scene. It's a really good scene from the movie where one of the characters is in a church, and a lot of people in the movie, part of the plot is they have these things implanted in their heads and they don't know it. So at some point, this guy who's a Secret Service agent for like the Queen of England, he's in an American church, I think. And I think it's an American church from what I remember. And people that have all the devices in their heads, it gets turned on, and they start going after this guy in the church like zombies. They act just like zombies. 1 minute they're listening to the preacher, the next minute they all turn to him and start attacking him. And in the scene, it's like really good cinematography. He's a really good action scene where he's just like killing everybody in the church. It's actually a really gory, nasty scene, but it's very entertaining. Somebody put Trump's head on the guy that's the good guy who's actually killing all the churchgoers, as funny as that sounds. And they put Trump's head on the guy that's killing all the churchgoers, and it put a bunch of different people as the churchgoers that are getting killed, like CNN, MSNBC, different news anchors, different politicians. And it's a meme. It's a joke. And people are losing their minds over it. They're absolutely losing their minds. And anyone who is pretending like it's a real threat, I'm sorry, they're liars. They're bullshit artists. Everybody knows that it's a joke, that it's a meme. If you haven't checked it out yet, check out the Kingsman. Look up like Trump Kingsman meme, and you'll find it. It's really funny. Now, obviously, if you don't like Trump, if you're against Trump, I can understand how you wouldn't find it funny, but it's clearly not inciting anyone to violence, right? Especially not like how, it's a meme about Trump taking out everyone, all the establishment. That's exactly what it is. Whereas you contrast that with different things that are coming out about Trump, where people are like doing videos and stuff. Prominent people are coming out and like talking about how Trump should be killed, is a little different versus like a meme, which is obviously a metaphor for him taking out the establishment. So anyway, good stuff. I just wanted to rant about that for a second. People are losing their minds. The crazy leftists are losing their minds, but fuck them, dude. That's all I got to say about that. Stay tuned for the rest of my content. Hey guys, so let's talk about H3H3 podcast and their criticisms of Trump voters. So I've said so before. I hate qualifying this, but I like to make it. I hate qualifying it, but I like qualifying it, obviously, because I keep fucking doing it. That I voted for Trump, but I am in no way a all-day-long MAG supporter. Though I do support a lot of what comes out of his administration, especially foreign policy-wise. Now, one thing that gets on my motherfucking nerves is I love listening to the H3H3 podcast. H3H3. Sorry, didn't speak English there. It's Ethan and Ela Klein. It's a pretty entertaining show. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. One of my biggest criticisms I have of them is how anytime something comes up about Donald Trump or Trump supporters, he pretty much, I guess I feel as though Ethan Klein trashes Trump supporters, and that's okay. That's okay. But it comes from I guess it comes from a more ignorant place. And so it's something that gets on my nerves because they just don't acknowledge the other side. And I guess for me, I've run into this. I think this is actually really a common problem with people that I don't know if you could say didn't vote for Trump, or maybe people on the more left side of the spectrum or whatever. But a lot of people don't get it, is that a lot of the support behind Trump, there's some major issues. So for one, a lot of people see in this country, obviously, that, I guess, close to 50% voted for the people that voted, close to 50% voted for Donald Trump. But there are a lot of problems in this country that are perpetuated by the liberal, more liberal-minded people. Like there tends to be a very relaxed stance on crime, especially property crime. People that are more conservative are, you don't have to be a billionaire to not want somebody to break into your house and steal your shit. Look at more liberal cities, like especially in Houston, for example. Or not Houston, but in Texas. I don't know if it was Dallas or what county or city passed some local ordinance or passed some kind of law where it was like if you steal if you steal below some dollar amount, which was a few $1,000s, it was actually fairly substantial, they weren't going to prosecute you. And I remember people being like, what the fuck is this all about? Like, a lot of people are working their asses off and a lot of people don't have a lot of stuff, and you're just going to say, well, because it doesn't look good if we arrest people all the time for, small property crimes, then we're just going to not arrest people for crimes under a few $1,000s. Another I think some of the bigger issues that got Trump elected, one of them is immigration. And I don't think you have to be I don't think you have to be radical at all for the immigration debate. The thing about the immigration debate is no one's being honest about it. Is that, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are people on the right side of the spectrum that just don't want anyone coming in. But that's not the common view. The common view that even got Trump elected was that there's just unchecked flows of people coming over the border. And that when you have these unchecked flows, first off, obviously some of the biggest concerns are crime, and that's rightfully so. And people might bring up the idea, well, they commit, certain immigrants may commit less crimes as a percentage of the population than native-born Americans. And that's not the issue. The issue is that you don't want to import any crime, right? Like, if you have immigrants that are committing a certain percentage of crime, obviously you're not always going to be able to prevent that. But you don't even want it to be close to the percentage that is perpetuated by the native-born population. Like, you want people coming into this country that aren't committing any crimes. So that's one thing. That's kind of a weird thing people bring up. Another problem is, obviously, there is some economics at play here. If you bring in lots of people who will work for very low wages, it prices people out of the market. So, without so many illegal immigrants, people would have to pay higher rates to do certain things in the economy, maybe building, construction, whatever it may be. And so regular Americans would be able to command a higher wage doing that. People like to say Americans wouldn't do those jobs. That's just bullshit. Yes, they would. People will do fucking jobs. I don't know where this nonsense comes from. And the immigration thing, one of the other problems is drugs. Obviously, if we don't have any border protection at all, you have not only drugs, terrorism, infiltration from other countries. And the other thing, aside from all those, is where do you draw the line? So this is a question that you have to ask everyone about immigration is, at what point do you draw the line? I am totally cool with, I want good people from other parts of the world to come here. I live in the most diverse city in the country. I have no problem with immigration, but we do have to draw a line somewhere. You can't just let in, an additional billion people, an additional 2 billion people from all over the world because they want to come here. You have to have vetting standards. You have to have strict filtering mechanisms before you just let people pour over into the border, right? And like I've said already, you don't want to get people who are criminals. You don't want to get rapists and murderers. That's obvious. You don't want to get too many people who are just going to drive down wages, but you do want to help people at the same time. And what is strange to me is that if you want, I have this position on immigration, I think it's a rational position. Any country has to control who's coming into its borders. Yet, if you listen to a podcast like H3H3, which I really like, they make it seem like, they just don't understand Trump supporters. If you voted for Trump, it's, you're just insane, right? Meanwhile, if you look at places like LA, where they're a totally liberal-run city, and San Francisco and California, they're just having major financial crises at the municipal levels. They can't control their homeless populations. And so people just, I guess what frustrates me is there's no nuance. There's no understanding. There's no attempt for people sometimes to say, look, I totally understand why people voted for Trump. So we don't need to talk shit about them all the fucking time, right? I guess that's what bothers me, is you've got these people with prominent positions, and I'm still going to listen to their podcast because I enjoy it. And, he has the right to say whatever he wants to say. I'm not going to get super pissed off at him, but I don't appreciate the way that Trump supporters are characterized in that podcast, but I still enjoy the podcast. Anyway, that's what I had to say about that. Now let's talk about some skin in the game when I get back from this sponsor break. Okay, and we are back, guys. So, what I wanted to continue with was a discussion about skin in the game. I downloaded the audio version of Skin in the Game from Audible the other day, and it's been awesome so far. Absolutely awesome. So, I'm learning a lot more about the idea of skin in the game. And one thing is very interesting is it has really inspired me to be more entrepreneurial and more ethical. You'd be surprised what it can do. And you'll also be able to find certain areas in your life and other people's lives where people are being unethical by what Taleb would call transferring risk to other people. Now, skin in the game, I've talked about it before. I've made podcasts about it before. It's not hard to understand, but it is kind of hard to understand if you don't totally grasp the concept, which is it's about having downside. So, a lot of people looked at skin in the game. I guess a lot of people look at it as having an incentive to do good. Like you have skin in the game that, a lot of people, I guess I read an article where people like to compare it to giving employees stock options and all that. But it's not the same as having the downside. So the downside is where you have skin in the game. And what Taleb talks about is how if you have skin in the game, entrepreneurs have skin in the game. Is when they start a company, they're running a company, if they don't treat the customers right, if they don't run the business right, or if they just don't have a good business, then they will go out of business. So if their practices are bad or their ethics are bad or whatever it is, an entrepreneur has skin in the game. And that skin in the game is a filtering mechanism. The skin in the game filters out bad ideas, or it filters out bad ideas, bad business practices, or, just not, maybe bringing a good product to a market that, doesn't want it. It's a filtering mechanism to get rid of what doesn't work, basically. And if you don't have skin in the game, then you can survive doing things that do not work or do not benefit the system as a whole. And what he talks about is how, like, CEOs and mid-level managers in companies don't have the same skin in the game as a entrepreneur. Because a CEO, for example, may not have ever been involved with a company that just started. But aside from that, if a CEO does a bad job, maybe he gets some kind of compensation package at the end of it. Maybe he's not responsible for any of the good things that are going on or the bad things, because he's not running the business at a day-to-day function like that. But if he fucks up, if the CEO fucks up, maybe he loses his job, but there's a good chance he's going to get a lot of money at the end of the day, regardless of how he operates. So he doesn't have skin in the game. He's disconnected from the downside. Another great example is bureaucracy, government bureaucracy. And Taleb loves talking about the interventionistas. So people that like to intervene in foreign affairs. And I think I mentioned this already, like Libya, like Clinton, Obama, all of them. People that make decisions where they don't have to deal with the downsides of their decisions. They don't have to deal with the negatives. So if you go into Libya and you kill a bunch of people and a bunch of people die, a bunch of American soldiers, a bunch of local citizens, well, it's really not that big a deal for you because you don't lose anything, right? You can go back home and whatever. And what I love about skin in the game, and I love just about Taleb's ethos, is how he basically ties a lot of this back to virtue, and how unethical it is to behave in a way that you don't have skin in the game and you transfer that risk to other people. So it's extremely fascinating. I would encourage everyone to read this book, and it's more, the thing is about it is it's even more poignant than some of his other books. So he really goes after people that don't have skin in the game. He calls out people like Bob Rubin, who was the CEO at Citibank, who helped crash the financial system but came away with an extra tens of millions of dollars. And what's also interesting is he talks about the idea of, to a degree, it's localism, and how the more centralized that you get, the bigger you get, the more people become disconnected from the decisions they make as the bureaucracy gets bigger and further from the people. And as that happens, you get a situation where the system eventually collapses. And I would love to go into more detail about that. I will have to get some thoughts together. But it's a absolutely fantastic read. It's a fantastic listen. So you should listen to it. That's all I got to say for today. I hope everyone has a fantastic Monday, and I will talk to you later. Don't forget to rate the podcast if you would please do so. 5 stars preferably. You can follow me on Twitter, tstutch1. Follow me on Periscope, tstutch1, YouTube, Taylor Stutch, Taylor Stuch. You can go to my website, tstutch.com, tstuch.com. Check it out, guys. Thank you.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.